Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skills Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NAIA, NJCAA, and a growing number of NCAA coaches to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 4-minute, 40-shot test can be taken free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. One thing you said that I really liked, and it made me think, coaches are sometimes too far on the breakdown drill side, or then the other side of that, maybe you might see at a select practice more is just go play with no structure at all either, where bad habits that were formerly there are just being reinforced that way. You're talking about a combination of or maybe even less of the breakdown, but structures and more gameplay, but leading them to specific goals. How would you encourage like a coach to start to change his practices in that direction?
Okay, so for instance, like last night, we played, we were playing 5-on-5 and we couldn't really score, so it was taking way too long. But we finally finished the 5-on-5 game. And to me, we were playing way too slow. Just like the ball wasn't moving. Just everything was slow. Everything was slow. Like it was, because we had the audience there. I'm like, this isn't what I want, to show the audience. Like, this isn't really how we play. We're just slow. So that's what I saw. And so when we finished the 5-on-5 game, then I went to, because we only had, by that point, we were down to 10 healthy players, I think. So, all right, let's play. So we played 3-on-3, 1 second rule. So for me, a 1 second rule is basically when you catch the ball, you either need to go right away, shoot it, or make the next pass. And so, if you dribble, but you don't really go anywhere, then I'm going to usually call that a turnover as well. But so that was kind of my response is, okay, well, we're playing way too slow. The ball's not moving enough. All right, let's play 1 second and see if we can get a little bit more pace into our game and a little bit quicker decision making and stuff like that. So that's kind of a way that I would, kind of approach coaching is, typically a typical practice has a very linear progression, so you start out, maybe you do your layup drill, then you do a passing drill, then you do your shooting drill, then you do some half court defense, then maybe you do a transition drill, and then you're going to scrimmage 5-on-5 at the end. And so, that's normal and it's expected and it's considered correct. But what if then you get to your 5-on-5 scrimmage and none of those things that you worked on today in practice are what's causing the problem? Well, you saved it for the end. Now you don't have time to focus on what's actually causing the problems, right? So if you scrimmage earlier in practice, so like when I started, the team that I'm talking about with Jerome, and then the other coach was Ahmad. We were the co-coaches together, and Jerome was kind of our overseer. And so we would start with scrimmages, and partially because, it was West Los Angeles and parents, couldn't always get players there on time. So, some of the teams there'd be like 2 or 3 practices going on in the same gym at the same time. And so that means you never knew for sure when you could have a full court, when you were going to have a half court. And so some of the teams, would wait until everybody was there, to really start. They'd just be shooting around or stretching or whatever. All right, we got 10 guys. Now we can really start practice. We started as soon as guys were there. We'd have 2 players. Okay, play 1-on-1. 4 players. Okay, play 2-on-2. 8 players. Okay, 2-on-2 full court. You score. You stay on. You get scored on. You go out. Right. And so we would just take the full court, because we were basically already practicing, even if we only had 2, 4, 6, and then so then we would watch that, and play like for the first half hour or so, and now everybody's gotten there. It's like, okay, well, our passing was terrible. Okay, you know, we're on the fast break. We've got guys open in a 2-on-1 fast break, and we're not passing the ball. All right, maybe we need to do a passing drill. Okay, so let's break down. Now we'll break in. We'll do some kind of passing drill. Okay, and then we'll go back to playing. And now because everybody's here, instead of playing 2-on-2, we're going to play 3-on-3. So play 3-on-3 full court. Or we used to play it where we would go like, you know, 3-on-2 for a while, and then add the third one, and then add 4-on-3. Not like the traditional way where you do it, where it's like one possession. You know, we would play like, you know, a 3 to 5 minute game, you know, of 3-on-2, where you're at a disadvantage for that whole time, or you're at an advantage, and then you flip flop it. So now you're at an advantage for 3 minutes, let's say, or at a disadvantage for 3 minutes. And so, because, you know, I mean, it was kids basketball where pretty much everything is based on getting layups or preventing layups, and every team pressed, you know. So to have success, you know, in a game, you had to be able to handle a press. So most of what we focused on was, you know, getting and making layups and being able to dribble under pressure, you know. So playing 2-on-3, you know, you worked a lot on handling the ball under pressure, making a pass under pressure. And then when you had the 3-on-2, you're shooting a bunch of layups, you know. So, you know, we do it that way, or, you know, 4-on-3, 5-on-4, same thing. And so that could be an entire practice, you know, where we start out with some 2-on-2 until everybody's there. Do maybe like we would split sometimes, and Ahmad would do like the ball handling, and I would do like shooting, you know, for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, flip flop them. Then we go back to 3-on-3, and then build to like 4-on-3, you know, 3-on-4, and then 5-on-4, 4-on-5, and then finish with 5-on-5. And that could be a whole practice. And so basically the idea being we're gonna scrimmage first and see what's the issue that we need to work on. Is it passing? Is it defense? Is it shooting? Is it layups? And then we can kind of break down, you know, kind of, you know, maybe do a drill around that area. Then we're going to play again. And when we go back into the play, if it hasn't improved at all, well, we can always come back out and go, okay, well, let's try a different layup drill to see if we can make some layups today, you know, or let's try a different ball handling drill or different passing drill, or, you know, whatever it is, you know. Or, you know, we said, okay, well, we couldn't make a layup in 2-on-1. We did a layup drill. Now we're playing 3-on-3 and we're making our layups. Okay, it worked. All right. So now let's go on and play 4-on-3, you know. So it's just kind of a way to, I guess, identify what you really need to practice on, you know. And if, you know, like I had a game last night, so I can identify, I can watch the film, I can say, okay, you know, we need to do this, this, and this. So especially at, you know, higher levels where you're doing a lot more film work, or you're coming off a game, you know, it's easier to plan that next practice, right? And say, okay, well, we definitely need to work on stopping the ball, you know, stopping penetration defensively. So we're going to come out, we're going to do a lot of defense to start practice. Okay. So, you know, but especially at kind of, you know, lower levels where, you know, not all the players are going to be at every practice, or maybe you go, you know, a week or two without a game, you know, and then you have a tournament, and then you go another week or two without a game, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's a way to focus in on the things that are actually causing the players problems, and not just having this idea, okay, well, we have to do shooting, we have to do passing, we have to do defense. Check. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's kind of a different approach, I guess.
I think that's a pretty big shift, though, from one of my first years. I've been at this school for 9 years now. One of my first years, I had a 3 to 4 page practice plan, all written out, broken down. And I remember I gave it to one of my assistants, who's an older gentleman, had been coached for a long time. And he was looking through, and he kind of had this disgusted look on his face. And I was like, man, what's wrong? What are you thinking? He's like, I don't know. It's varsity basketball. Like, they should know how to do a lot of these things. He was right. Like, it was just breakdown drill after breakdown after breakdown. In my mind, this is complete. This would make my former college coach proud. But I like your idea of, I mean, I think of as a teacher, you do all these breakdown things in the classroom, so hopefully they do well on the test. Well, what if you gave them the test first, and had them fail. What if you have them
Right.
start with 4-on-4, 5-on-5 small-sided games, have them fail and allow that to shape the direction of your practice, have it be a little bit more organic in the moment. I think there's something really big there.
Yeah, I think, I've done it both ways, like you, I used to plan out practices. Like when I was at the junior college, I would plan out practices and write it on the board, and we'd have teams set before practice and everything. Um, and so I think there are benefits to that. And, again, in that situation, with games, game, practice, game kind of situation, who you're preparing for, stuff like that. So it's a little bit more structured in that sense. But I also do like, being able to observe. And I think, for a new coach, it's harder to do, to not have a plan going in. And so I always recommend newer coaches or younger coaches have a plan. You can always deviate from the plan.
Yeah, give yourself wiggle room. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like when I plan practice, like I don't put times on things. Even when I had the detailed, practice plan up on the board, for the players to see, like I didn't say, okay, well, we're starting with, transition defense for 10 minutes. It would just be like, whatever the, Army drill. Okay. And then if we got through it quickly, maybe we moved on, or maybe we got through it quickly because one team was horrible and the other team scored so quickly. So maybe we need to do it again, or maybe we need to switch teams, or maybe we need to talk about why one team couldn't defend the other team, and so, maybe we take 10 minutes, maybe we take 5 minutes. It just depends on how we perform. And so, and then if we get behind in practice, I try not to do the 5-on-5 scrimmage as the last thing, because I never wanted to get rid of the 5-on-5. Right. So like even now, like my practices, we almost always end with shooting, because I don't want to get rid of the 5-on-5. Right. So we'll do an extra shooting drill at the end. So I know if the 5-on-5 goes long, or maybe if the, 2-on-2 at the beginning of practice goes long, I can always get rid of the extra shooting drill at the end, because we've already done one shooting drill at the beginning of practice, and we've done, shooting throughout. So, we can get rid of that if we need to, or we can skip it, like I think that happens too often in practice, where you end up with, your 5-on-5 is your last 15 minutes. Something goes long. Now you're only scrimmaging 10 minutes or 8 minutes, and it's debatable, which is what's, the most important part of practice. But ultimately the game's 5-on-5, and so while, you can't spend an entire practice doing 5-on-5 for a variety of reasons. I mean, 5-on-5, if I was only allowed to do one thing at practice, it'd be 5-on-5, because that's the game that we play. And so as much as I'm, a huge proponent of 3-on-3 and stuff like that, I still think that you can't prepare to play 5-on-5 without practicing 5-on-5. And so to be successful in the game, which ultimately the purpose of practice is to perform in games, and so it's not that I'm talking about, because we have to win the game or whatever, but ultimately we practice to play in the games. We don't just
prepare to be your best. Prepare to be your best.
I like now where I have a little bit, where I plan a little bit less for practice, partially because, we have mixed teams and we don't always have every player at every practice, and I never know who's going to be at practice and stuff like that. So, it's hard to plan a practice for 12 players and you have 18 show up, or you plan a practice for 18 and then 10 show up. And so you have to change everything anyway. So I'm doing a lot more coaching on the fly here than I did in my last job, but it allows me that freedom to say, okay, well, we did this and we sucked at it. So we're going to do more of, our defense was terrible in this drill, so let's do more defense. Or we couldn't make a shot this drill, probably need to add in a little bit more shooting, so, kind of allows for that freedom. And it also allows me, I don't do it as much with my under 18 team, but with my under 16s, almost every practice, I ask them what they want to do, and I really give them a lot of control over what we do at practice, because our kind of our basic structure of a week is our Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are theoretically more skill days, or skill based, or kind of development type days. And then our Friday practice is just with the team, and then we play on Saturdays typically. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to me, it's more for them. Like, okay, what do you guys want to work on? Okay, you want to work on finishing? Okay, you want to work on? You guys want to play 5-on-5? All right, we'll play 5. You want to play 3 on? Okay, we'll play 3-on-3. Like, and then Friday is more, okay, well, we need to make sure that we know how to double team in the post if we, get caught, or how are we going to guard a ball screen tomorrow, or, what offense are we going to, run? How are we trying to, attack them, et cetera, et cetera. So 3 days of the week is really more for them and their development. And then the fourth practice is a little bit more, kind of focused on the game type stuff.
Yeah, 2 takeaways from that. One was to free us as coaches up from being slaves to the practice plan and the times that we've set. Because I think you're right on the money. How many times do I have 20 things, but at number 3, it just goes longer, and then I'm either trying to adjust. And so I think there's probably a lot of coaches that'll hear that and maybe just take a deep breath and relax a little bit and be more in the moment in practice. And then the second thing I like that you kind of just said at the end is allowing your players to have a little bit more input on the types of games that they're doing in practice, because there's nothing wrong with them enjoying what they're doing, but you can still structure it and have the rules in place to achieve the goals or the skills that you're trying to have them achieve. So I thought those two things were great. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.